Have you ever found yourself wanting to make various shades or tints of a certain texture in your mod, and you didn't really feel like, pulling the image into GIMP or whichever image editor you're using and making 20 copies to get all your different colors, and then putting them all into your mod and, increasing your file size by, admittedly, probably not that much, but let's face it, it does increase the file size. Really not a huge issue because usually we're dealing with 16 by 16 or 32 by 32 images. Not a big deal, right? It's not. But there's a better way to do it. And I have just figured this out. And when I say figured it out, I mean I said I went on a forum, the Minetest forums, of course, and somebody had posted from the API how to do it, and I was like, I must just be an idiot. I can't figure this out. How does this work? Can you show me a mod that uses it, or give me an example in code? And very nicely, JP threw together some code and was like, here's how it works. And I tried it out, and it was the easiest thing ever. Clearly, I'm just stupid, but I can't be the only one in the world who couldn't figure this out, so I'm going to show you guys how to do it. So we have on the dev wiki, the texture page here, and there's all this fun text, which, trust me, I read. I couldn't figure it out. And I think it's kind of the fault of this paragraph here. They say here, a special command begins with the square brace here, or bracket, it's called character, and is one of the following. Combine, brightening, colorize, mask, no alpha, all these different options. Nowhere in here could I find anything saying I need to put the carets right there before the bracket. But you do. So because I have an account on the dev wiki here. Hey, wait a minute. Why is it not showing? Oh, right there. I scrolled too far. I put two examples in. It all goes inside the quotes. I was trying outside the quotes. Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. Couldn't get it to work. But there we have two. So let's hop into our code editor. And you'll see I already have. This is my old new mod, which you'll see in a second destroyed the world. But we are using smear PNG, which, let me pull that picture up for you real quick. Oh, wrong folder. Should be, no. Did I? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. So here is that graphic. It is a tannish colored smeary thing, hence the name smear PNG. And we are colorizing it with this hex value of 29CD35 and a ratio of 120 out of a possible 255 for the intensity. So Minetest is not running. Let's launch Minetest here. And pull this up. And you'll see what I mean by destroyed the world. I got all these monkey heads, like literally all over the place. Way too many of them, honestly. But you will see here they are green. This cube is that tan smear PNG. So we have pretty much only used one image, and we have given it a green tint. And we can change, in some place I put a Z in there accidentally. We can change this all the way up to 255, which will give us pretty much straight that color. And it's kind of hard to tell on this 3D model. There's really no texture left to it. It's just that solid color. Or we can do something really low. We probably wouldn't see 5, but let's try 25. I think we'll see a greenish hint coming through on that. Well, it's definitely not greenish, but you can tell it's certainly a different color than the cube below it. And that's because of the green color that we are adding to it. So we have that. You can use the hex code, which, again, any image editor, pretty much when you have a color selector, you got your colors here. Let's make them her, I guess. Actually, it's Suzanne, a blue color. So we just grab our HTML notation. Depending on the editor you're using, they might call it HTML, they might call it hex. It's all the same thing. And we should have a... Oh, you know what? A, that was the wrong world, and B, I should have put that higher than 25. Put that back to 120. And let's see. Ah, little blue monkey heads dotting the landscape. Way too many of them. Okay, so, simple enough. Once you know how to do it. You can also just use the names of colors, like green. I believe it says that the CSS standard color names are all accepted. So that's pretty much going to be, honestly, everything. Green, violets. Whoa, I went to Control S, not Control A. Yep, violet is supported. I think khaki is a color. Wait, khaki? I don't even know if that's how you spell khaki. We'll find out what happens if you have a spelling error soon. I'm guessing I spelled it right because it looks khaki colored. So, let's try olive drab. Just because it's 2 words. I don't know how it's going to handle that. Okay, I don't think that's doing olive drab. So, 2-word ones may not work. But I guess olive is a legitimate color. Okay. So, pretty much, yeah, any of your CSS colors will work. So you don't need to know the HTML notation for them. A bunch of light pinks. But that's not all we can do. We can get more complicated things. I'm just going to comment out the draw type and the mesh file here. And I'm going to comment out the first row of tiles and open the second one up so it's not a comment anymore. This is pretty much the default dirt with grass with a slight change made to the last texture here. So we have default grass, which is the top image, default dirt, which is the bottom, and then the sides are all done with default dirt with an overlay, which is what this little carrot is, of default grass side. And then we're calling a colorize on that. So let's, we can't really do anything to the bottom because we can't see it. I mean, we can, but we wouldn't see it. So we'll put our carrot in the left square brace. And what shall we do here? How about we brighten it? So we'll just copy brighten here. And then paste brighten in. Put a colon behind it. And again, we can go up to 255. So let's just do 150. And that should be all good there. And we'll just leave it at the yellow, actually. So it's going to make the sides of this block be the 75 out of 255 yellow. I don't really know a better way to... The ratio is going to be 75, but it's not percent. I don't know. So the sides of these blocks are kind of gross. The top, honestly, looks pretty bleached. To be expected, though, because we are brightening it. If we brighten it something much lesser like 10, whoa, I'm stuck. I must be in a hole. Yep. Brighten it to 10, and it still actually looks really bad. Let's go up to some of the actual dirt with grass here. That's without any brightening. That's with the brightness of 10. So let's change that brighten down to like 2 and see what that does. That looks the exact same, honestly. That doesn't make sense. Carrot, brighten. Okay, well, let's just do this. I'm assuming the brighten is just brightening that green kind of overboard. Okay, so the yellow color is definitely working because that's using the, looks the same as the grass from on top of it. So yeah, I'm not sure why Brighten Let's try to just brighten it by 1. I don't know. I think that still looks way brighter than 1. I don't know. Maybe I'm not quite understanding how the brighten feature works. But we have the colorize. We have mask, which pretty much, if we had another image that had a transparency on it, we'll just overlay the two. No alpha. All the pixels are set to opaque so that you don't get any alpha on it. And then you can actually make alpha. So if you had an image, which of course I won't, we'll just use this as an example. If we had an image that, how do we do this now? Bear with me 1 second here. Background, we're going to make this green. Whoops. Yeah, let's hit cancel. Not move. Yeah, no, we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do this one. I don't usually change this on my photo viewer. Voila! So if we had an image, and this you actually see quite a bit in games that use sprites, because they're, I don't know if it's just because back in the day they didn't do alpha transparency. I don't know what the reason is, but I remember this from when I was much younger, that you'd have sprites and they would just use like this green color in the background and stuff. Well, we would take the hex value of this color, which offhand I have no idea what that is, and we would feed that in to, instead of the brighten, we would do the make alpha. Make alpha right here, and we would put our red, green, and blue value instead of using the hex. Now, if you have hex value of something, you can get the red, green, and blue right there. So if I punched in a hex, a decimal, and I'm only guessing it's real, it is, okay, good. We have 119 red, 0 green, and 51 blue. So we would punch those 3 digits in right here, and we would get transparency on that background color. Of course, it'd probably be easier just to go ahead and use a transparent background. But again, if you're using a sprite from a third-party source that doesn't have a transparent background, something that can be useful. I don't care about that anymore. And I just lost my code editor. What? I actually closed that? Yeah, whoops. So that's how that works. Now, if you're wondering how I magically made it from mesh to not be a mesh, pretty much anytime you don't tell it what the draw type is, it just turns it into a cube, and then it'll take the string of textures that you're supplying it and wrap those around top, bottom, and sides. I believe you can do multiple images for the sides, and it will coil them around it, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I usually don't do too much with full nodes. I'm more of a mesh guy myself. But yes, that would be how you use the colorize, how you use the brighten, all of those options, the exact same thing. You put it inside of the quotes, and you put a caret after the .png or whatever the file extension is. Square brace to open. You do not close it with 1, and it all works. So hopefully this helps somebody out, because I know I sure couldn't figure it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again next week with another modding tutorial.